from Maryland, Mr. Raskin is recognized for 5 minutes.
Madam Chair, thank you. And I want to start just by saluting you for your extraordinary and energetic leadership of this committee and your historic leadership as the first woman ever to be the chair of the Oversight and Reform Committee. And we will continue on all of your major priorities with respect to the census, the post office, fairness in the immigration process, and of course the Equal Rights Amendment, which we know is so close to your heart. So thank you for everything you've done for us. I want to thank the witnesses for coming and testifying about anti-LGBTQ violence and incitement, and I offer my condolences for the losses all of you suffered at the Club Q shooting last month. We're keeping you all close to our hearts. When you look at the hostile treatment of minorities in America or in any country on earth, you find a spectrum of negative actions that can begin just with vilification, demonization, stereotyping. Then it can become statutory discrimination and stigmatization against a minority, and then it can culminate in violence. And you know, we've seen the most horrific episodes of that kind of violence, and some of them are taking place in different parts of the world today. In recent years, certain state legislators have sought to turn government into an instrument of hostility to and demonization of LGBTQ people. More than 340 pieces of anti-LGBTQ bills were introduced in legislatures across America this year, triple the number that were introduced 4 years ago. 48 state bills that aim to limit or ban discussion of the existence of gay people have been considered in 21 states. Mr. Wolf, as an LGBTQ civil rights advocate in Florida, could you speak to us about how Florida's Don't Say Gay law affects you, and what is the effect of these types of bills that seek to promote censorship or invisibility of entire communities?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And I want to start by acknowledging that Republicans in Florida promised us that the bill was narrow in scope, that it was only focused on preventing young children from being sexualized or learning about sexual topics. And although we told them that the language of the bill was nothing like that and that it had far broader reach than they were saying, they assured us that there would be nothing to worry about. And so as a result, what have we seen? Well, we've seen books being banned with LGBTQ characters across the state. We've seen teachers being told to hide their family photos in their desks. We've seen, school districts like Miami-Dade County refusing to recognize LGBTQ History Month, for instance, saying that it might violate the Don't Say Gay or Trans law. Those are just some of the impacts, and they're weighing most heavily on LGBTQ families who fought really hard to see their loved ones recognized and respected. It's weighing on teachers who are fleeing the profession. We have over 9,000 teacher vacancies in Florida, in part because they've been undergoing character assassination over the last couple of years. And finally, it's weighing most heavily on LGBTQ young people. The Trevor Project tells us that almost 2/3 of trans young people are experiencing poorer mental health outcomes because of policies like House Bill 1557 in Florida. So in short, the debate over the humanity of LGBTQ people is making life harder and less safe for people, especially in the state of Florida.
Well, thank you for that comprehensive and alarming answer. Ms. Pocock, how do you think that banning references to LGBTQ people in the classroom and school curriculum affects LGBTQ youth?
Well, again, this is a situation where we know that when you build an inclusive classroom, you have young folks who are more engaged, more likely to show up at school. And so, again, the best thing that we can do is prevent negative outcomes by creating an inclusive classroom, an inclusive church, an inclusive home. That is, hands down, research shows the very best thing we can do for young people.
Ms. Hunt, how do extreme laws like Alabama's law affect the health and safety of LGBTQ youth. This is the one that, well, we've discussed it, but how does it affect the mental and emotional health of the kids in the classroom?
Sure. When children are told that they're not part of society, that they don't have a role and a place in any part of their lives, whether it is being represented in the classroom, whether it's participating in school activities, whether it's receiving health care, whether it is just being part of their communities as a whole, it teaches them that they don't belong, that they are lesser than, and that they are not as worthy as their classmates and as their peers. And that's not the message that we should ever be teaching to young children anywhere in this country.
Thank you very much, and I yield back, Madam Chair.